there can be never a dull moment in that country called Nigeria. And that's why I like the country. There's never a dull moment. First and foremost, somebody supporting Tinubu from the north, the former governor of Borno State, came out and said Oshibajo is just an ice cream seller and granite seller. And when Oshibajo replied, on the day of the convention, he opened up a tent to be giving people free ice cream and popcorn.
I think it's more than that. For him to say Morocco Model, there's something. It's probably, it could be had to do with restructuring. Something, because the Yoruba people are clamoring for restructuring. The Igbo people are clamoring for restructuring. And I think it's like a dog which is like a silent, just like it just hinted something. It is not right to ask to allow somebody to become president just because by virtue of where he's from. He said religion should not play a part. That when he wants to see a doctor, he doesn't ask the religion of the doctor. When he wants to fly a plane, he doesn't ask the religion of the pilot, which is good. I've been young. I'm now old. I've never seen a Southeastern president. For me, it's not right, because that means that someone like, say, who's from Southeast, they cannot aspire to the heights. They cannot aspire. That means that they're just second fiddle. It's not right. When a black person in this country, you know how he felt when they saw Obama in the highest office. That means that the young people can aspire. Yeah, there's somebody that looks like me. But now, for a Southeasterner, the only thing they can do is just trade, sell in a bar.
Hello. Welcome to another episode of Lost Lagosians. I'm your host, Brother Mike. Thank you guys for listening, and thank you for following us on our social media platforms. Today, we'll be having another installment of our I Can Fix Nigeria by Myself series. We had our first installment in episode number 10, where we talked about top corruption versus bottom corruption. Then in episode 34, we talked about true federalism. And for those of you who are wondering, the I Can Fix Nigeria by Myself series is a panel where a group of Lost Lagosians get together and talk about issues that plagues Nigeria today. The Lost Lagosians are actually out of Nigeria, and most importantly, all out of Lagos. And we kind of talk about the current affairs, what's going on in Nigeria, and how to make Nigeria better. The I Can Fix Nigeria by Myself series talks and reflects on Nigeria as a country, where we're at, where we're going, promises of the future. It's a little bit political in nature, but we're not really taking any sides. It's more of a mockery of the situation going on and how politicians, even after 60 years, can't figure it out. I know you're probably thinking, wow, most countries can't figure it out. You're probably right. That's just the nature of politics. Regardless of how old your country is, or how old your democracy is, or how developed or civilized you are, there's still going to be corruption, and people are still going to be taken advantage of. People will still believe in politicians. So really optimistic that 2023 will be different. Hopefully things will get better. And hopefully you guys will enjoy the I Can Fix Nigeria Myself series. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the show, and I hope you guys enjoy the show.
If I had the choice to choose who's going to make Nigeria great, I would, and will be least corrupt, I would choose Peter Obi. But in the calculation, Peter Obi cannot win this election, because Nigeria, he can't win this election because even he could not even win from the party he was before. He had to run away to go and do Labour Party. That shows that Nigeria hasn't come of age. If you are not pragmatic on your choice, you will just give the range of power will fall down back to the person you least want. So you have to be pragmatic. Who in this can actually get you, can take that, can is the least corrupt? I guess, for instance, look at, I wanted to support Oshibajo, but Oshibajo could not even come second in his own party. He couldn't even come second. This guy beat him. So that's the same thing in the general. The good people that you want, that don't want to be corrupt, that don't want to play the game, the dirty game the way it is, will not win. The structure is not yet ready until we get somebody that will win an election void of corruption. Like, he just stands alone, and everybody just goes after him, and they support him to win. That's why you now know Nigeria has come of age. But until then, don't take any risk. if you take any risk and just throw your vote to somebody who could not even win his own party with whatever, with his goodwill, with his good record, oh, I didn't steal money, I didn't know. You can't win his own party. That means that he can never win the Nigerian general election. For me, I'm going to support Asiwaju Tinubu. So I'll just throw it open.
Good point. I've heard a lot of bad things about him. I think I saw something online about how he was trying to climb on the stairs and he almost fell and somebody was holding him up. And a lot of people came after him and were like, oh, wow, this guy, he's not, maybe his health is not fit. But again, if you look at people like maybe Joe Biden or other people in the US or other parts of the world, I mean, they're all, even Trump, they're older. So I don't think age is an issue. And I don't think age is a deterrent either. I believe that with Tinubu, he's the best person personally because he's the one that can unify Nigeria. And also, I thought there was this power rotation that they were doing. Like the Northerners would get 2 terms and the Southwest 2 terms and the Southeast 2 terms. So if you have PDP going with Atiku, I don't know because then the power doesn't rotate necessarily. So I think Tinubu is probably the most promising. And also with the discontent with people and them talking about with people talking about the Fulanis and the herdsmen and what is recently transpired, I think it'd be only fair to have like a different part, take power.
Yeah, so let me just add, there's an argument that you shouldn't use the, how do you say it? You shouldn't determine who should be your leader based on where they come from, something like that, So the so-called power sharing agreement, I think it was just like a gentleman's agreement. It wasn't legally binding. And if you want to argue that the best person for the job should be given the job, then it's probably a baseless argument to say, right, because this person is a Southerner, it's the stone to take power, kind of thing.
There was nothing written in the Constitution that makes it legally binding that there have to be power sharing. It was just a gentleman's agreement, meaning some people got together.
So what I was saying was, like, based on what I heard anyway from the PDP in particular, not the Constitution. I'm sure there's nothing in the Constitution as well anyway that says that. But even from the PDP perspective, it's not. There's no law or anything written anywhere that says the next person has to be a Southerner once a Northerner has been in power. So that was on that basis anyway. Atiku was able to get the nomination.
Anyway, so first and foremost, I think the way the whole selection was done was like a big joke. First and foremost, honestly, there can be never a dull moment in that country called Nigeria. And that's why I like the country. There's never a dull moment. First and foremost, somebody supporting Tinubu from the north, the former governor of Borno State, came out and said Oshibajo is just an ice cream seller and granite seller. And when Oshibajo replied, on the day of the convention, he opened up a tent to be giving people free ice cream, calling it and popcorn. I mean, that's the drama.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah,
was that real? I heard about it. I didn't know.
Yeah, he did that. He did that. He responded by opening up a popcorn and ice cream shop on the day of the convention, inside the convention, to be giving people for free. Then Ahmed is saying that he's fit and young, while Tinubu is old. When Ahmed got to the ground, Ahmed did 400 meters around the whole convention ground 2 times or so to show us his feet. He's saying anybody that cannot do this to not be president. I mean, the calumny of jokers here in the country. The calumny of jokers here in Nigeria is huge. And then the only man who came to speak in a proper way, the only man who spoke properly and who gave, as far as I'm concerned, the only memorable speech. The man scored zero votes. I'm talking to Pastor Bakari. He came in He gave us the most memorable speech, and he was the only person that had the sense of maturity to give a minute of silence to people that were killed in our war. People were just killed, and people were busy gallivanting, talking about vote for me. He was the only one that actually asked us to give a moment of silence. The man scored 0 votes, 0, 0. Although not even one person came behind him. Even if the person says, let me say, Shani, bye-bye. Not one. That says that the structure in Nigerian politics is already established. In other words, put it this way, there was no how anything they said that day, anything anyone does, Tinubu was going to win the flag bearer, yes, the nomination. And I think it was all a trick, a ruse that Buhari did. He did it as if he made it open and fair. He knew Tinubu would win when they make it open and fair. But they tricked the whole populace. They tricked us. They first of all brought Jonathan in to make it look as if they will give it to Jonathan. And then they tricked Jonathan actually. Jonathan is always too slow. He didn't even read it in between the lines. They tricked him, so he couldn't attend a PDP campaign. He couldn't attend the APC campaign. But in all honesty, if you look at the way the whole comparison has gone on, you can see that Nigeria in itself has no structure. There's no structure in Nigeria. There's no institution. There is no institution. And I really mean it. There's zero institution. For whoever is going to come in, all they need to do to make a big improvement is to create an institution. Even if the institution is just 1% of what we have in modern world today, that is all we need. And that was why when Tinubu won the flag bearer for APC, he came and said, I am going to adopt the Morocco model. And people kept wondering, Morocco model, why don't you adopt Sweden?
What is the Morocco model?
He's saying our adopt Morocco model. What is Morocco model? I personally think what he's saying is we're going to crawl first before we start flying. He's trying to say we will have to, because Morocco, you can't compare Morocco to the Western world, but Morocco is actually working. So he is probably thinking, I'm going to do something that will make certain things work, even though everything may not work. So I think he's just showing out there that don't expect everything to be done, but some things will be done.
Well, I think it's more than that. Sorry, I think it's more than that. Yeah, we need to check that Morocco model. Those people don't say things just lightly. There's something in that Morocco model we need to check.
So the Morocco model is talking about how to impose measures and plans, how to make the lives of the citizens better, and to expose that same kingdom. Morocco is like a kingdom. Expose the kingdom to the world in the area of projects, implementing whatever they can achieve, just to achieve that in terms of wealth, strength, status of the citizens, while enhancing the skills and ability in every area. That's one of the just thing the Morocco model was. And they are having a time bound. They are having time bound. They've started like 13 years ago. They are looking at what could happen within the next few years, like to 2033 or 2035 rather. They're looking at those things. Just like a typical developed countries will look at, 5 years time, what are we looking at? 10 years time, what are we looking at? And that's what the country didn't have, called Nigeria. They tried it, they said 2020. You remember that slogan?
Vision 2020.
Everyone?
Vision 2020.
Yeah, Vision 2020.
Yeah, Vision 2020. Can you give me an assessment of, they could not even attain 10% of it in my own perspective. Instead of even attaining 10%, they went backwards. Do you know the purpose of Vision 2020? You have an idea what it is?
To improve the lives of Nigerians.
Yeah, mainly to improve it, but in a way they are trying to be 20 out of the 20 main developed countries in terms of revenue, GDP, and development in the year 2020. But before the year 2020, they want to be one of the 20 top-rated countries in the world. That was the 2020 vision. That was in year 2005 or 2002. So 15 years down the line, or 20 years down the line, they did not even attain 5% or 10%. They went backwards. You see the difference of measurable results. So they did not even they were not even able to solve just light, not even water, no agriculture. That's why I'm talking about in our own case, is about the timing and is about the results. We need to do things fast as a problem solver. So those Morocco model was talking about all those times, and you can see their country getting better day by day.
Yeah, but people are held accountable there. There's data. So nobody knows how rich Atiku or Tinubu was, as we were talking about earlier, because there's no information about how they got their wealth. There's no accountability office that tracks. Even EFCC is supposed to do that, but EFCC is also like, who knows what they're doing.
Most of the system have been politicized.
I think it's more than that. For him to say Morocco model, there's something. It's probably, it could be has to do with restructuring something, because the Yoruba people are clamoring for restructuring. The Igbo people are clamoring for restructuring, and I think it's like a dog whistle. It's like a silent, just like it just hinted something. It is not right to ask to allow somebody to become president just because by virtue of where he's from. And the same thing this guy said, El Rufai. They asked him that, is the presidency going to be a Muslim Christian ticket or a Muslim ticket? Because he is interested in becoming vice president. He said no, that religion should not play. He said religion should not play a part. That when he wants to see a doctor, he doesn't ask the religion of the doctor. When he wants to fly a plane, he doesn't ask the religion of the pilot, which is good. But can somebody ask him? Would those people in the call, not him included, would take Christian ticket? Would they support it? It's not possible. They will not support it. It is because they only use that. If we look at Atiku. Normally, the presidency went to the north. Atiku should not even be running. When will we get a southeasterner? I've been young. I'm now old. I've never seen a southeasterner president. For me, it's not right, because that means that someone like, say, who's from southeast, they cannot aspire to the heights. They cannot aspire. That means that they're just second fiddle. It's not right. When a black person in this country, you know how he felt when they saw Obama in the highest office. That means that the young people can aspire. Yeah, there's somebody that looks like me. But now, for a southeasterner, the only thing they can do is just trade, sell in a bar.
Business, yeah, that's an important point, because we look at the what do you call those people? The separatists, IPOB, indigenous people of the Igbo, the Biafra. So
that's why
those guys are agitated.
There's no institution. That's what I was saying. If there was an institution, that will have been resolved a long time. There's no institution, and because there's no institution, the whole thing is structureless. There's no structure. There's no. I mean, let's be very fair to ourselves. There is no how anybody will have won even for the PDP convention. Why? The real party membership or the real party winners is from the grassroots, is from the ward. That is where they select the delegates. People have been sending out jokes how to become delegates, because those delegates make a lot of money, right? They make a lot of money. They share money among them. They decide who becomes president.
The delegates get bought out. They
get paid. Delegates get sponsored. They have sponsors, actually. They have a leader who sponsors them and says, you are guided by choosing for this person, by electing this person. But the real question is, how are these delegates chosen? It's like a loop circle. I'm sure delegates are chosen by the big party stalwarts, the governors and all that. So if the delegates are chosen by those people, how on earth can the common man become a delegate? It's a closed shop. It's a closed loop. It's like saying they choose within themselves.
Yeah, so the party sharing actually is in effect. However, it's subtle. So if you look at PDP, for example, the last president from the PDP was from the Southwest. So now the PDP's opinion is to move power or leadership over to the North, because the last president was from the Southwest. Now, if you look at the APC, the last president is from the North. So there's a bit of, it's just that they're offset. They are not working together. because with Buhari being in the north, the APC wanted to move to the southwest, and PDP the last time someone was in power was from the southwest, OBJ, and now they're moving over to the north. They both need to kind of work together, I guess.
That's true. Although PDP was south with Jonathan for 5 years. The only problem with Jonathan,
exactly. Thank you for that. Yeah, but they had to go north. Good point. Yeah,
they had to go north. The only problem with Jonathan was that Jonathan claimed he's from the east. Can everybody remember that story?
I remember that. Yeah. I remember
Jonathan
that.
claimed. So what he did was this: to remain in power and to perpetually remain in power, he crowded his government kitchen cabinet with people from the southeast. He flooded his. Go and look at all his top ministers. They are from the southeast, except for the minister of petroleum, Allison from River State.
Madukwe,
yes.
Yeah.
He claimed his middle name is Ebele. Ebele is an Igbo name. So he gave them a false sense of direction that he's an Easterner from southeast, and people claim. After all, Southeast too, they've ruled Nigeria. They've had their turn with Ebele.
Yeah, the reason why Jonathan was actually in this because OBJ wanted to settle the oil and gas people from Niger Delta. He wanted to make them at peace because there was a lot of lootings and stuff of pipelines and whatnot. So I think it makes sense. And I think that's what should happen now. Power should go to the southeast, like we said earlier. But unfortunately, I mean, this is Nigeria. It's just the elites are the ones that rule and the elites are the one in power. So it's kind of a very sad situation, I guess.
So I'm not sure who posted this earlier in the day or people comparing the GDP from Obasanjo to the GDP of Yar'Adua to the GDP of Jonathan and to GDP of Buhari. We could see a progressive decline in the GDP generally. So if we are going to compare Buhari with Atiku or Buhari with Tinubu, if Tinubu becomes president, I am going to say one thing clearly, and that is that Buhari never really kicked off the economy. The economy never moved from every indication. And why that happened, I'm actually clueless. Apparently because he surrounded himself with his fellow trustees and fellow nomads and fellow Fulanis who apparently were also clueless. And for them, the key thing was for them to amass money and wealth, create billionaires Fulanis, whereby they can actually be fully armed for the next generation of children that are coming up or politicians that are coming up. They're actually amassing the wealth for the next generation of Fulanis that will come up from their or prop up from their system. I think that was basically all he did. So I don't know much about what is going to happen between Tinubu and Atiku, but on a one-to-one comparison basis, I would take a Tinubu over an Atiku, not because he's a Southerner or Southwesterner, but majorly because I looked at the history of Atiku. I'm sorry to say, Atiku and Tinubu, there is a history of between the two of them of a lot of corruption. If you look at the history and antecedents in general, but I looked at the history of Atiku, and to be quite honest, it was whether it is true or not, the story is out there. It was filled with all sorts of corruption at every level. There's a story out there that when it was the custom boss, not the controller general, but one of the custom bosses in Lagos, a lady went to Cotonou to smuggle Ankara in the 60s, in the 70s or 80s. She came in to the country with smuggled Ankara at Cotonou Seme border, and she was caught. When you are caught, you pay a fine and you go to jail. So they took her to their boss, who happened to be Atiku. Atiku looked at her and said, "Don't worry, guys, I will settle her bill." In the next 1 year, she was married to Atiku. That was Atiku's first wife. So you're looking at somebody who married a cook, right? I'm trying to give you a picture of his pathway, his trajectory. So much so that the corruption was so much so that IBB, from the story, IBB sacked him. For IBB to sack somebody for corruption, You can imagine that it must have been
How
serious.
corrupt it must have been.
Because Ayuba himself is corrupt.
So can I add something?
Yeah.
Sorry, can I add something? I sent you guys the delegate counts from each state. And it will interest you why the Northerners will continue to perpetuate power. It will interest you. They are the only ones that are controlled. If the Southeast says, okay, we're going to work with Southwest and produce a Southeastern president, they're not going to win.
Cannot meet up.
You can't win. Anybody that, even if Southwest, Tinubu says, I'm going to run and I'm not going to take a Northerner as a vice president, he cannot win.
Yeah, that's because for the delegates per
that will get to that presidency without the help of the Northerner. See the way they did it. What I know is delegates are based on reflection of the population of each state.
Correct.
If you in California, they have the highest delegate in America because they have the largest population.
People.
After California is Texas. Texas is second largest population. They have the next one, then New York and all that. But look at this now. Lagos is the largest population in Nigeria.
Lagos only has 60 delegates.
You can imagine they gave them 60 delegates.
For the APC,
look at Kano, double. The Kano is double of Lagos.
Kano has 132 delegates, yeah.
Look at, if you now take time to add all this number together, you now see why it is impossible for anybody to become president without the North, because the structure has been so bastardized in the favor of the Northerner. And last point I'm going to make now is the only way you will ever see in a Southeastern president. Obi is just playing around. He's not going to win.
He's not going to win, yeah.
So the only way you're going to see a Southeastern president, number one, is that they need to remove power from the center. Center should be less attractive. And how do you do that? They will do what is in America, where
federalism, true federalism.
True federalism, where the states, every state produces its own money and just pays some to the center. So you will now see some states that are almost as rich as Nigeria. Like California alone, all the Republican states that are always shouting, California is doing this. California puts more money in the central coffers than any nation. California and New York, even Texas is so miserly. They don't put enough in the
federal. Yeah,
almost all the money that the government used to run, it comes from California and New York. So in Nigeria now, the way it's going to run is all those states that are not viable have to partner with other states or somehow or be folded into another state. You know, if you're not viable, why are you a state? You have to be viable to sustain yourself. Then when that happens, then when there is less interest in that place, then you now see then a southeastern state may now allow, because there's no much money to be eaten in that place. You will now say a southeastern may now have a chance. But as long as there is money and the control, somebody in the center controls the entire destiny of the whole country, education-wise. If education in Nigeria goes down, the education in every state goes down. So when that happens, everything is controlled from the center. Then you see why they use life and death to hold on to that power there. So that's the point I'm going to make.
No, thank you for that. So this is the APC delegate count available on the APC website. How does Kano, for example, have 132 delegates? They have 132 delegates. Katsina have 102 delegates.
Katsina, 102?
Yeah, because that's 102. And then you have a place like Lagos only having 60.
60?
So it's just, it's not possible, which is why someone like Tinubu will have to go to the north to beg before he can get elected if he were to win the general election anyway. Yeah. No, so I mean, is there any other comments or thoughts? I think this is a very good discussion and just something to get people to think about how the primaries have been structured and how things can be better put hopefully before the next election is in 2027. Because this one right now, I don't think was well put together in terms of the delegate count. And also the two parties. I think there needs to be like a central party management system. Like here, we have the board of presidential debates. There's a group that is non-partisan, and all they do is they schedule and organize presidential debates. I think there needs to be something like that, where there's a non-partisan independent party, not INEC, that would help with aligning the two parties together.
There's nothing that you can be partisan and non-partisan in Nigeria. As long as there's poverty. If there's poverty, no matter how you set it up, it's going to be partisan. And finally, somebody said you have to do biometric. The biometric, all these biometric that people do, they should be used for election. Where you now know that all the so-called population in North are not real. You can see the way they count.
They're not real. Yes, we know they're not real.
Yeah, they count from 60 and they jump to 100. They count from 60 and they jump to 200. Then they're counting.
It's not just that. They use underage children as they include them as for election. Yeah. Underage children, they pump them out, they drag them out, and that is why that true federalism you mentioned is very, very important for the nation to move forward. And that's why Wike, as much as Wike is a very stubborn man, I like him for one thing. He's a very stubborn man. Politically, he's stubborn. But at the same time, I like his tenacity. So some people call him a political thug. Yes, because of the way he talks and his way is gra-gra. But he makes sense on many grounds. Like when he stood his ground and said, why should the money and tax from services be going to the federal government when I got the money from the state? And when you are going to share it, you will share it on the basis of this number of local government, and you've created fake dummy local government of five people in the north. Yeah. So Wike stood his ground and said, why should I give the money, the tax I get from selling beer, and you in the north, you are breaking all the bottles of beer, and me, I sell beer, I take tax from the people for buying beer. And you are not selling beer.
You don't drink.
And you want to take my own money that I used to collect from people who bought beer. Who is deceiving who?
The purpose of this is to just have a dialogue and to help people to think about how Nigeria can be reformed and hopefully how Nigeria can be better for everyone, because everybody loves Nigeria so dearly. And we all want to see things improve and get better. We all pray for peace during the elections. If you have not gotten your PVC card yet, please go ahead and get registered to vote. Make sure you have your card. Do not sell your votes. And just participate. Someone once told me that during the elections, a lot of the political elites, a lot of them leave the country. And most of us that are in the Southwest that are educated, we sit at home and we watch channels and Arise TV on the day of the election because we don't want to be involved. And mostly, for those of us in the Southwest, I remember myself personally, we play soccer. Play football because there's nobody moving, there's less traffic, so we turn the roads into a football field and we start playing on the day of the election, which is not a good thing because we are supposed to be involved, they're supposed to get out and vote. So this is kind of encouraging people to vote and be part of the process. Hopefully things will get better. With that, thank you all. We'll catch you on the next one.